Woo!
Hey everybody, Jim Sammons here, and welcome to the Kayak Fishing Show live, brought to you by all these great sponsors scrolling across the bottom there, who keep us on the air for the last 12 years. So every Tuesday, and it seems like sometimes Thursday, we air older episodes of the show, and we have on live commentary, so we can answer any of your questions, kind of give some backstories about the show that maybe isn't necessarily on the show. But before that, we generally get started with some chat and whatnot. I've been watching my Padres. I don't know if anybody else is a baseball fan, but I love my Padres. And of course, we had our star player get hurt last night, Tatis. So we're all hoping he gets better. If you're not a baseball fan, well, go fishing. Because those are kind of the two things I enjoy the most right now is watching the baseball and going fishing, but not fishing enough. So at least I've got baseball. So to start these episodes off, we bring on my good friend, Patrick Sebile of A Band of Anglers. And what he has been doing is going over individual lures from the different brands under Band of Anglers and kind of giving the idea behind the product, how to properly fish that particular lure, and so on and so forth. So today he is going to be talking about the Oceanborn Flying Pencil in the 110 size, I believe. So anyway, without further ado, my friend Patrick Sebile, you're a little blurry today.
A bit cloudy right here in the heart of Florida, Lake Wales. Hello, everybody.
So the Oceanborn, since you started Band of Anglers, that was really about the first ones you came out with, correct?
Yeah, the first brand, because, I had to start somewhere, and in the past, I was a bit of, Sebile was as well, freshwater, saltwater, hard lure, soft plastics. So I decided this time to have several brands to be able to have most of the brand with a specific focus. So I still have one brand that's a bit like Sebile, a bit everything can fit into that, Engage. But I started with Oceanborn because I wanted to start with saltwater range. And Oceanborn, actually have a little story behind that was related to Oceanborn Mary, which is a true long time tale from Massachusetts of a boat of immigrants coming from England and Ireland and being attacked by pirates on their way. And actually, while there was the attack going on, the captain, the pirate, heard a baby crying, a newborn baby. And literally a woman who was carrying a baby was so afraid of the attack, she gave birth to a baby girl. And the pirates say he will release everybody free under the condition that woman will name her baby Mary, which was the name of his mother. And she ended up to be nicknamed Oceanborn Mary. And because I love Massachusetts, that whole area, northeast from Boston and south, big fan of there, since for the past, give or take 20 years, I've been used to have two fishing trips there and made many friends. So definitely a big place for saltwater. So I named the brand Oceanborn. So here's the whole story behind Oceanborn. You can find books, by the way. If you're interested and you want to know more, anybody, you can type online Oceanborn Mary, and you can read the story. And there's a few books written about that. So, and more to say.
That's the first I've heard. That's why you named it. So there you go.
That's true.
So Patrick, tell us about the Flying Pencil.
Yeah. So when I started, I have two lures. Basically, I started with both the Flying Popper and the Flying Pencil, and both of them has wings on the side to enhance what those lures can do compared to regular poppers and regular pencils. So naming this guy, I came with a 160 millimeters, which is 6.5 inch, something like that. And then today I'm talking about the teeny guy, which is, as you can see here, 4.25 or 110 millimeters. So I wanted a much smaller lure, much smaller, more compact, with several options and one hook only in the tail, whether a travel hook or single hook. I'll go there in 1 second in detail. So the larger one have a hook in the tail, a hook in the belly, well, like almost every other lure. But for the small ones, I wanted to be able to have a lure that's very reliable, very strong, have great action, and allow to catch big fish when they're feeding on small prey. Because I believe all of us have been there once or twice or many times, depending on people, where, say, for example, tuna, there are sometimes they are feeding on anchovy or small sardines, and you have lure too big, you can cast all day long, and maybe you get a bite.
No, I was out with a buddy of mine for bluefin, and these were big tuna. I mean, for here, 100 pounds minimum and up to 300 pounds, and they were eating tiny baits, and you could not get them to eat anything of anything that was big enough to throw. you couldn't get them. And Patrick, I brought myself up on camera here because you're a little blurry, so I wanted to be able to actually bring this up so people could see it.
Sure.
This is the tuna rocket of the flying pencil. So the single J hook on the bottom. You can see the ribbed belly. You can see the wings, everything else like that. I just wanted to bring it up where they could maybe see it a little clearer because your picture is a little blurry. So,
that's why that teeny body. Thank you, Jim. Really appreciate that. That's cloudy today, so I guess there's some impact on the internet around here. That's why that little guy is of a small size, and basically, as an angler, I came with 3 options. The sinking, which is right here. So sinking is basically 1 ounce. It comes with a travel hook. When I did the prototype, I made a floating, I made a sinking. Actually, the sinking is only 2 grams heavier, but those 2 grams, since very little, in fact, really the lure was casting better, and almost more importantly, was having a much, much better walking the dog action. So when you open, that's easier to see, of course. So basically, that sinking is the light guy when you want to use a lighter line. So that's not the one I will be using for tuna, for example. Still, all of them, that's the same body. All of them have a wire through of 250 pounds inside and a 350 pound stainless steel swivel that's attached to the wire through, and that's attached to a treble hook. So that's why the sinking come, with a treble hook of a pretty decent size, and definitely the wings on the side. And I hope you can see them. I'm not sure. On my screen, the image is good, but I hope, guys, you can see them. Well, really, they act like a surfboard, and they give that lift on the water. And because there's no hook on the belly, there's no drag on the belly. That's why the walking the dog action is so great. So I love that guy. Again, it's 4 inch and a quarter, just to give in proportion. So 4 inch and a quarter is really great if you have a light spinning rod or casting rod. If you want to fish inshore, redfish, snook, striper, I mean, a lot of things. But if you're mostly targeting fish of all kind of size, not especially the largest ones. Now, when we want to cover more water, much longer cast, the super long distance, as we say in French, distance.
Distance.
So big difference, because if you can see here, the sinking I show you first is 1 ounce. That guy, so same body again, but more weight and different positioning of the weight is 2 ounces and a half. So 2 ounces and a quarter. So 2 ounces and a quarter, well, twice the weight of the sinking, even a little bit more. So this guy definitely makes a much longer cast. So if you want to cover more water, definitely the SLD, to name faster, the super long distance SLD, really is fantastic. I was really looking after that myself in many situations, to have a teeny lure, very heavy, high density, to make those long casts, but still be able to work on top. Now, if you want to work it on top, you can walk the dog, or you can have more of a fast retrieve and check the rod tip a lot. Makes a lot of chasing action. That's great. And a big deal of this guy, the SLD, that guy swims super well. I mean, I'm saying swim like a swim bait. You literally can cast that guy, and on a retrieve, you swim it, and it does swim. It does really have a beautiful swim. So if you swim as soon as the lure hits the water, then it works and swim on the top and makes a nice little wake. Very, very attractive, like especially when you have a low light, for example, but also when the fish are below, they can see that wake on the top that attract them. You also can simply let it sink 5, 10, 20 feet, and then you start your retrieve, and the SLD model will start to swim then at the depth that it reached by then. Another thing, the last thing about that SLD model is because it's so heavy, you can also jig it. So now it's a top water lure, you can cast very well, long distance, use on the top, and also let it sink and jig it. And actually, I put the drawings on the back, so that's why it's quite unusual. But you can see here, that's a pencil bait, a top water bait, but you can see one of the drawings show that actually you can jig it through it. So a very wide range of use. Honestly, this is one of the 3 models that I like the most and to use in most situations. The treble hook in comparison is a teeny bit bigger than on the sinking one, so it's definitely made and tuned so you're able to use heavier lines or catch bigger fish than the sinking one. All right, so the sinking one is lighter, have a bit smaller hook, and fish can come here. Here you go.
Well, I'll tell you right now, it's a good quality hook because I just slipped and it stabbed me in the finger.
We see blood. We see blood. So yeah, just to compare the size of the two hooks, you see definitely the SLD, as you can see, is a much beefier treble hook. So definitely better for heavier line and larger fish. And the third option, which is even a bit heavier, is the racket. So actually that's the one that Jim was showing.
That's the one I have, yeah.
So I'm opening also a racket. So just to show quickly, the racket is 2.5 ounces. So a 1/4 ounce heavier than the SLD. So the two main differences are what? So a little bit heavier. So in the absolute heavier for even a longer distance. Now that 1/4 ounce more, make it lose some of the swim action. So the beautiful swim action you have with a SLD on a steady retrieve, you have some, but not as good. So it's definitely made more for faster retrieve. And as you can see, we have a much bigger split ring and definitely a bigger single hook compared to the treble hook here. So that's why definitely if you want to have heavier line, bigger fish, if you really go for tuna, mahi-mahi, cobia, stuff like that, I will just go with the racket, because definitely I can fish with 80-pound braid if I need, and I much rather have that single hook, if you go with those blue water guys. Now, it's not it. If you're fishing on striped bass, you have a blitz, you may have a lot of blue fish. Well, it's still a good option to go with this guy because it's a bit heavier, and the single hook, especially with bluefish, much easier to remove. When I don't know if all of you, maybe not all of you, have had the chance to be sometime on a big bluefish blitz where you literally catch one bluefish after the other. It's the kind of craziness that happened on the East Coast when you have literally thousands of bluefish. They are super sharp teeth. They are quite strong fish. They shake a lot. So already having one lure with a treble hook is much better than one lure with two treble hooks when it comes to unhook them. But a single hook is definitely much better than a treble hook, to take your plier, not your fingers, and remove the hook and let them go. So you see, same body, exact same body, but 3 different weights, inner weights, 3 different settings with the hooks, 3 very complementary options. They really complement each other very well. And of course, you can see on the back, you have the SK for sinking, of course, SLD for super long distance, and you have TR for the tuna racket. So that was the day.
Would you say, like you said, the SLD swims the best?
Oh yeah.
Is that, what kind of retriever are we talking about? Is it as slow, steady? I mean,
slow to medium.
It's not a fast retrieve when you want it to swim really well.
Yeah, when you go really fast, the wings come into the play and really make the lure skip on the top, which is one of the action in some case you want to mimic. I mean, thanks to the wings, those wings are no gimmicks. So you take this guy, the tuna rocket, 2.5 ounce. When you retrieve it fast, especially if you hold the rod tip 45 to 60 degrees, you can retrieve fast enough that guy will literally skip on the top like a ballyhoo, flying fish. I mean, many fish. I mean, we all seen bait fish when they be a predator. And when you go very fast like that, actually, there are some fish and certain days where that's the best way to go. And there's a number of there are some days if you reel too slow, you have a few bites, and if you burn literally as fast as you can, you turn the bite on. And that's why some people missed it, because they don't know that, and they never think about really burning a lure. And when I say the fastest you can, I'm not kidding at all. Really the fastest I can. And think about that. The fish always can swim much faster than we can retrieve. Much faster.
So there's no doubt. You cannot outwind a fish.
No.
And you can, I mean, you see it. It's super obvious with fish like wahoo. Everybody knows how fast they are, and tuna and such. But calico bass, they are insanely fast. When they want to go after something, you are not outwinding it. So the other question I really had for you, why would I choose to fish a pencil instead of the popper?
It's a very good one. First, the streamline shape, and that's why I came also with the popper 100, because they complement each other. First, the more streamlined shape, definitely it's a bit bigger, a bit longer, allows me for more weight. So for the absolute distance, that's a one. But the popping action is a very pleasant action. It's very easy to follow, visually, to see a popper in action. And people love, because when you see where the pops happen, you can see, and sometimes you benefit, the pleasure of seeing a bite, or sometimes not a bite. You can see a fish coming, because you were able to keep your eyes on the popper. Well, the fact is, popping is good, but it's not the greatest action. And I love to give that example. One of my 10 favorite fish of the many hundreds of species I caught are cubera snapper. I'm a huge fan of cubera snapper. And a very typical thing a guide in Central America or in Africa will tell you is to use a popper for them. And indeed, the action, the bite of a cubera on top water is one of the best things. It's very impressive. Most often they come straight, grab the popper, turn 180 degrees, there's a massive explosion. But actually, if you use a lure that fish more deeper, that rolls on the fall, as an average, and I talk of my experience, my personal experience of many years and many trips dedicated to a cubera, it's not 5% more bite, it's 5 times. When you make an average. Of course, a few days, like everything, maybe a few day popper be the thing. But in fact, the popper is by far not as effective. So why having a pencil? Well, when I swim the SLD, that's where it speaks the most. When I swim the SLD popper 100, you have a cranking motion. You literally, for those of you who use a crankbait, you'll be surprised when you swim the popper 100, so a teeny bit shorter than this guy, you retrieve, you feel a cranking motion in your rod. You actually see the rod tip shaking like with a crankbait for bass. When you swim this guy, you just feel a weight. You don't feel the swim action. It's much more subtle. And when the fish are finicky, a subtle swim action very often is much better than more of a splashing and cranking action. So to be efficient, I always take a box with a range of baits, and I try to know the best I can every lure and why I pick them up, not randomly, but because each of them offer different type of action and possibilities. And that's why a pencil cover more water, and if I have a swim action, even if I walk the dog, that bait, walking the dog, in many cases will bring you more bites and more fish catch than a popping action.
That's interesting. That's interesting, because the popper catches us. We love the popper, right? Because the bite, the explosion on the surface.
So it's very good. You opened this topic. I was a fishing guide mostly in Africa for 18 years. And despite of loving topwater action myself, and popper is definitely one of the things I use, so I'm not at all against popper, popper is the one thing that have hurt the most fishing trips to my experience.
Have hurt?
Hurt.
Now you froze. I don't know if you can still hear me, Patrick, but you have frozen. So we'll let him kind of resort himself. I will say hello to a couple people. Norbert checking in from Ireland. Thanks for joining us. And Liam, thanks for joining us, as always, over at Kayak Fishing Tales, our YouTube channel. And Javi, hello from Spain.
Okay, there was a...
Oh, yeah, you hung up there for a second. So the last thing we got was poppers have hurt more fishing trips. Okay, explain.
So by far, most of the anglers were coming to join me and my crew fishing in Africa for many years. Until the popper became a huge thing, people will come to do anything, just wanting to fish. So based on the moon, on the tides, on the place of the time of the day, etc., in one day of fishing, or I will say in 1 week of fishing, because we are far away enough, people were not coming for 1 day or two. They have to come for the full week because we are in very remote location. So we will adjust week after week to what will work the best to have people having a lot of fun, catching a lot of fish. And of course, popper were part of the equation. But that means, say, we will start fishing, say, at 7 a.m., and maybe the first 2 hours, there will be a good, a decent, or a crazy topwater bite along the sandbars and the rocks with jacks, cubera snappers, cobia, big barracuda, etc. And very often, and of course not always, the shallow water, the topwater action will slow down, and we will keep catching fish, for example, by trolling rapalas for another 2-3 hours. And then typically, middle of the day, that will be more, and of course the tide have a play, but the high sun, higher temperature, we will need to go deeper, and that's where we will fish more with live or dead bait or jigging, like going 40 or 50 meters deep when we started the action fishing in the 1 to 5 meters of depth, okay? So I will adjust, and as a result, at the end of the day and at the end of the trip, angler will have much more fun overall. The average angler, because the average customer, most of the guys who go on a fishing trip, that doesn't mean they are great anglers. That means they have, the financial means to be able to pay for themselves, plane ticket, 1 full week in a lodge, and the fishing and etc. So most of those people will have the best success by following the knowledge of the guides like me or my other guides who are working with me, by us giving them or sharing with them all knowledge and say, okay, now should be better if we do this, and now we do that, etc. Of course, forever, I always respected when, say, a guy will come to say, hey, I only do fly fishing or only lure fishing. And of course, we will always do that. When the popper, and I speak about Europe, so I'm not saying it was exactly the same thing in the US, what bring the popper was suddenly there was a constant stream of article and TV show just about popper fishing. And we started to see the same type of anglers, and suddenly not bringing any more, jigs and 8-0 hooks and wire and weights and stuff like that. People will come with 1 or 2 dozen popper and nothing else. And the popper is really not the most effective lure. It brings fantastic pleasure because, again, you can follow your popper very well, even at long distance, because you see the pop, so you can keep your eyes on. You can have fantastic topwater, explosion, which you have with any topwater lure anyway. But over topwater lure, a guy like this, if you just reel it slowly, you will have just 1 inch below the surface. You will not see where it is. Or you will use a pink back color or white, not because fish like that, but because you will be able to see that color. But a popper will be much more easier to see the bubble, the explosion on top, just to follow cast after cast. But as a result, those people who will be able to fish 8 or 9 hours with me and constantly using the techniques and the lures that make them very successful, will have only left that 1 or 2 hours of good action in the morning. And the rest of the day, they will be popping and having nothing and say, oh, there's no bite. Well, it's not exactly that, but now we know we need to fish deeper.
Right.
And and I saw a number of guys who were very disappointed of fishing trips in many destinations because of that. So the popper, I really, really, really worried when people have only poppers in their top water range of baits, because in fact that's a very limited attractive device. It's good in a number of situations, but by far not always. And as an average, popper have a very little window where they're very good. Many other lure, top water lure, so same level of swim action, do better. And to me, a pencil overall is much better than a popper. So sorry
okay.
for the
now we're running way over what we normally do, but I still have another question. So I know personally with poppers, really surface stuff, you also tend to miss more fish. It just seems like because they hit it at the surface, they're more apt. There's no resistance on it. They hit it and the popper goes flying. Do you think the hookup ratio is better once you get down into the water column?
Oh, that I'm quite convinced of that. But there's two main things that happen that bring us to lose fish. One of them on popper, one of them on top water floating lures. Very often, people pop, use their top water, make pause, and in fact, when you see the blow is not always when the fish have fully the lure in the mouth, and very often people, in fact, try to set the hook when the fish is not yet holding properly the lure. That's one thing. And when you make pop and pause, if you have more of a constant retrieve, typically your hooking ratio is much better. But if you really, pop, pause, and stuff like that, a number of missed are because the angler tried to set the hook too fast. And just waiting, and I'm not saying it's easy, but just waiting that 1, 2, 3 seconds makes a big difference. You many more fish. Now, the other thing is some of the predator, big barracudas, the giant mackerel, that's what we call kingfish here, here in the Atlantics, which is not what you call kingfish on the Pacific Ocean side. A number of those guys, even the Cubera snapper sometimes, they have one thing in common. They have very massive teeth. So the Cubera is more massive and strong, very sharp. I mean, very pointy, but not sharp. And then you have barracuda or the giant mackerel, king mackerel or kingfish. They are very sharp as well. And very often they come from underneath, they bite, but normally what they bite is a tender mullet or ladyfish or baliu. So when they close their mouth, normally the bait fish is cut in half or in 3 pieces or totally crunched. And they are used to come, and I mean, I've seen thousands of those bites, maybe tens of thousands without kidding. And again, not just my lures, but being a guide and having, sometimes 3, 4 guys next to me. So when you have a lot of action, I've seen a lot of bites. And those fish, when they come to crunch a bait fish on top, they come for a massive bite, like, you're ready to go. And, you want to, destroy that bait fish. You make sure the bait fish don't go away. But they arrive and they bite those things, which are made of hard ABS or hardwood and stuff like that. So think about that. Next time you look the spoon, you're about to have your soup and think, don't do it, please. Don't do it. Think you want to go and really bite that stainless steel spoon as hard as you can. Well, one of the reaction is when you're not planning for a reaction like this, your jaw will open back. And when they come fast, it goes so quick, those kingfish or those big barracuda, like on the west coast of Africa, they will come and literally jump 8 or 10 feet in the air. And you see the lure. Literally the fish fly in the air in one direction and the lure fly in the other one. And that's because at the moment he claw his mouth, well, there's that reaction, this energy. The teeth cannot go through like on a normal bait fish. And there's a ricochet effect. And you just lose them. But it's fantastic to watch.
Yes.
Almost that, but very close. Not exactly, but so good to see. I was years ago on the Coral Sea with Doug Allender, who some of you know, I'm not sure if you know, I'm guessing you do, was the editor-in-chief of Sport Fishing Magazine.
Right.
And he does fish a lot on kayak also. we were fishing on the Coral Sea, and suddenly I have that big kingfish that beat, I think it was on big stick shad or stuff like that. So it was on a popper, but then suddenly I felt something was different in its fight, and he jumped straight like this. And at the very moment we saw that fish, which was like 6 feet long, so it was not a teeny, 2-3 feet fish. I was a 6 feet long.
Right.
That fish jumped straight in the air, and literally we saw two black tip sharks jumping, one from the right, one from the left, and literally, I mean, it's incredible. And it's kind of thing you almost don't want to tell if nobody was with you to watch it. But dog was next to me. We were both watching the action. Those two sharks jumped, and one bit the upper part of the king mackerel, the other one took the lower part, and they cut it straight. And 1 second in the air, there's the head of that kingfish with my stick shad in the mouth before falling back in the water.
Can't catch them all.
Yeah.
All right, Patrick. Well, we ran super long on this segment. I want to remind everybody to get the discount. You can see the discount code right there. You'll get 15% on the ocean-borne flying pencil for the remainder of the week. Patrick, that was great, man. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I always enjoy having you on.
And I remember there's always someone to win some lure. So lure of the day is for winning for someone.
Yep. And we will, for somebody who comments, questions, thumbs up, shares, all that. And we do hope people will share these, get the word out a little bit, help us out. And
actually, we have a winner a few weeks ago, and we have one email, and obviously the email have some issue. So wherever you are, if you have not received your package, please email Jim back. Your package is ready to go. We just need your correct email, please.
Yeah, and I don't remember the name, but we can discuss that, and I'll put it back out there again. So anyway, thank you, Patrick. I appreciate it. Let's get back. I got to get to airing this episode. All right. Well, that was fun. Like I said, I learned a lot, as always, from Patrick. Today's episode was we went to the Bahamas for the Battle in the Bahamas with the Extreme Kayak Fishing Series done by Joe and Marie Hector. The reason I went to this thing is because I wanted to see how they put on their tournaments, and these guys do it right. I mean, their whole, they don't do this tournament anymore, but they still have their Sailfish Smackdown and other stuff they do down in Florida. But this Battle of the Bahamas basically turned out to be a lot of work for them for not a lot of reward. So they discontinued this tournament. But the thing about this one is I wasn't entered in the tournament. I just went down there to kind of observe and paddle and fish. And I'm not going to lie. This was the one shoot I've ever done where I got skunked. Caught nothing. And I can make all kinds of excuses. I was jet lagged something terrible because I came here straight from New Zealand. I also got a bit of a stomach virus, so I was a little bit sick. No excuses. I tried hard while we were fishing, and it just was not my trip at all. But it was a cool destination. We had a great time, and I met. This was one of the first time I had met a lot of the kind of tournament people, tournament anglers. I mean, it was the first time I'd met Joe and Maria, as well as many of the competitors. And so for that reason, it was just a fantastic trip. I got to fish with Luther Cifers, of course, from Yakattack. My buddy Esteban Gutierrez was there. So fun trip and very, very cool place. I've been to the Bahamas 2 other times and had wonderful trips. But this one was definitely a tougher fishing trip. So let's let this episode get going. No sound I'm hearing. Okay, somebody said there was no sound. I apologize for that. I'm disoriented. I will drop this and bring it back on. There's this little tiny button that you have to hit, and I sometimes forget to do that. So let's do this one more time. There it is.
This week on Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show, Jim heads to the sunny Bahamas to join the team from Extreme Kayak Fishing for their one-of-a-kind annual Battle in the Bahamas fishing tournament. Jim and around 100 top anglers from around the globe are on the hunt for an incredible variety of fish, just a few paddle strokes away from the pristine white sand beaches. Joining him will be no other than our friends Esteban Gutierrez from Blackbeard Fishing Company and Luther Cifers from Yakattack. One of the greatest things about being part of the Extreme Kayak Fishing Tournament is the convenience. All part of the service were ferried to the Bahamas on the ultra-fast Balearia. The Balearia only takes a few hours to reach the Bahamas, skips the hassle of the airport, and best of all, the whole tournament is seated in first class.
Just getting ready for a nice trip, week-long trip in the Bahamas. We're going to be fishing the Extreme Kayak Fishing Tournament.
Filling out our paperwork for the kayak fishing tournament and trying to stay awake.
Well, we're about to board the limo van, I guess. We got the VIP treatment today. Kind of unexpected, but we're pretty happy. We got some help. Got a lot of heavy luggage.
After a short ride in style on a limo bus, the guys arrive at Flamingo Bay Resort and begin the task of rigging up their boats. Luckily, we have Luther here to make sure it's all done right.
We didn't have a screwball, so we took a quarter 20 screw, quarter 20 socket head cap screw, and cold form threads in this 1-inch ram ball so we could get a T-bolt in it. So now we're about to get this thing wrapped up.
Good morning, everybody. We're just getting ready for the day, rigging our sabiki rods so we can catch some bait. It's a little windy. It's a lot windier this morning, so I think it's going to be calming down here in the next couple of hours. And our plan is to go out and see what's out there.
Joe and Maria Hector have been running extreme tournaments out of Florida for years, and their signature style has made them famous. Extreme kayak fishing tournaments have big prizes and big personalities, all sided with a huge dose of fun.
You know what? It's the excitement and the people that gets me excited. My husband and I, we started offshore fishing on kayaks. You know, we started building a group and doing it together, and the group got bigger and bigger, and then we got, you know, the idea to do a tournament. And my husband, he was always fishing the big boat tournaments, so we tried to model extreme kayak fishing after that. Get him the stage, get him the champagne shower, get that whole feeling to the kayak anglers. And now at this point, we're just too busy to even go offshore anymore. So seeing guys bring in monster fish is what really gets me excited.
Yeah, I mean, what's great about the people, first in the Bahamas, I mean, the Bahamians are great. They welcomed us from open arms since the beginning. And then with our anglers and sponsors, it's great because I feel like we're one of these events that have characters. And we're different. We're the other guys. That's our slogan. And we're not your average kayak folk. We're those guys that are going offshore catching these monster fish, and we're those guys that are partying maybe a little too hard on a Saturday night. So that's who we are, and we have a good time promoting that, and we have a great group.
When we come back, the guys get a chance to do a bit of pre-fishing, and the tournament begins with a bang.
Yeah, so sorry for the sound issues. Like I said, sometimes I miss that little tab that I'm supposed to hit when I share the videos. Excuse me.
Welcome back to Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show. This week, we're in the Battle in Bahamas Extreme Kayak Fishing Tournament. The guys have had some time to rig up their boats and enjoy some Bahama Mamas. But now it's time to stop relaxing and take part in the tournament. Although our team is only here to observe, there's still a bit of hope that they'll hook a few monster fish.
All right, guys, it's first light. Got all the guys ready to go out there and chase after some big fish for this awesome tournament. I've just finished rigging. We're going to be launching here in a couple minutes. Finally have some really nice weather. We've been battling the weather the last few days, and finally for the tournament day, God smiled on us and it just laid down. So it's going to be a fun day.
First day of the tournament. We're getting ready for the shotgun start. Everyone's loading up on bait right now, and hopefully we get some monster fish today. So.
On the beach by 4:30.
I think though this is a extremely competitive, high dollar kayak fishing tournament, one of the coolest things about it was that so many people here were here just to have a good time. And there were so many great people from all over the country. From all over the USA. There were guys from Canada here to just compete in this beautiful location and have some fun and just hang out with other kayak fishermen.
We came over here not expecting to do anything. We brought a couple kayaks, pre-fished, and we fell in love with this area. So that really, was the turning point. We just wanted to bring it here. And then Valeria and everybody worked together, and it just kind of happened. It was really an awesome thing.
I think it starts with the destination. They're going to extreme places where you're dealing with extreme conditions and where you're dealing with extreme fish. There's a lot of people fishing off kayaks now. There's a lot of inshore, there's a lot of bass fishing. There's some big fish involved with that, but what's going on out in the open water with these really big fish is a whole nother deal. So it definitely deserves the label extreme.
It's actually very cool to come here and see not just us bringing Krakens here, but there were several more people out here on the Kraken. And the main reason is, that's what this boat was made for. It's for getting out here in the bigger water, covering miles. It's just really, really comfortable in this. It's in its element. Well, we finally got a beautiful day out here. So, it's a fishery I don't know, but I'm going to go with what I know. They said there's marlin here, so we decided to come outside and troll big live baits for marlin. There's a good prize for being the first one to hook a marlin, so that was kind of our thought process for today is go big or go home.
We went home.
I think this is the ultimate test to not only your endurance, but also your sportsmanship. You can come here and be highly competitive, but at the same time, you can create new friendships and network, and you can make friends that you will stay in touch with for a lifetime. Everybody here comes with the same mentality. Obviously, you want to win the tournament, but at the same time, you want to learn. You want to help each other out. It's like a big family of kayak fishermen, and we all come together in a beautiful location to share everything we know and to grow as anglers.
Some good stuff, man. I think we got the biggest king and the biggest grouper ever caught in the whole series since 2011. So we're really excited about that. And we're just having a good time here in the Bahamas, and so far so good. So it's day one, and anything can happen day two. So you never know. Lots of fish.
Day one comes to a close and some records have been broken. One can only hope that day two will be just that much better. Stay tuned. The battle in the Bahamas is far from over.
Yeah, like it said, we weren't really in the tournament, so we decided to go out and go troll because it was the only day that we had that wasn't super windy. And so we decided to go well offshore and troll for marlin. Unfortunately, didn't happen for us.
Fishing show. This week we're staying at Flamingo Bay Hotel and Marina on the island of Grand Bahamas.
The culture to me is fun, and that's what we're about. So when we come here, it's just a great mix of just having fun, and it's not for us. Listen, the money's big, and of course you want to win, but if you don't win, you have a great time, and that's really what our series is all about.
After another great party put together by their hosts Joe and Maria from Extreme Kayak Fishing, the guys are rested and ready to hit the water for the second day of the tournament.
I think one of the very neat things about kayak fishing tournaments in general is seeing everybody group together And when you can do a shotgun start like the way they do here at first light, you're on the beach, everybody's got their Visi carbon pole lights all lit up along the beach, and then the sun starts to rise, and then the word goes out that we can launch, and everybody hustles out to get on the water. That just makes it really exciting. Even though we weren't competing, just to be a part of it, to be there with these guys was really fun.
I mean, for me, the conditions were, from a surf standpoint, when we first launched, I thought, even on the second day, I was like, that's very paddleable, but you've got these really direct winds that made this a lot more difficult than we really expected. Once we got outside there.
So I'm going to pause there for a quick second. I don't know if you saw that big tank that guy had on the front of his boat. It was a bait tank, and I don't know that he had ever taken it out on a kayak before. He had to be rescued. That boat almost sank. I don't remember what the issue was. The big tank leaked over into the boat or whatever, but he almost sank. So that was a fun story from that one.
Really getting pushed around a lot, but good stiff paddles, long boats. I mean, we were able to go out there and get around and last all day, but it was definitely tough fishing.
Now, the sun out here is, it's blazing. I mean, it's very hot, and I'm completely covered up. The reason is I'm not a big fan of sunscreen, and then having to reapply, it just washes off. So wearing the long pants, the long sleeve shirts, and the buff headgear to keep my face from getting fried. A lot of people think, it's really hot, I'm going to wear less. You just get hotter that way, and you just bake. So keeping myself covered up, I'm actually fairly cool, and just keeping myself from getting fried.
As we were heading in, it got a little windy. It was good because the kayak was tracking perfectly, but then we decided to turn around and start trolling at the drop-off, which is a point where the water goes from 400 to about 1,400 feet. We were trolling a live goggle eye, and I would say maybe we trolled for about an hour or so with nothing. All of a sudden, I heard a clicker on my reel, and I knew something was playing with the bait, but I've learned from the past that the worst thing you could do as an angler, especially when you hear that, especially when you have so much anticipation, the worst thing you can do is grab that rod right away, because then you'll pull the hook out and the fish. So I just kind of let it be. I kept paddling at the same rate I was paddling at before, and not even 5 minutes later, then the drag just started screaming.
I mean, I think the first thing that really stood out to me once the tournament itself was underway was the energy that Joe Hector puts into this thing. And you can tell that's contagious. I mean, the crowd here, the community here, everybody knows everybody. They're all very involved. It was surprising to me for there to be so much cash on the line, the amount of information that was freely given to people trying to help each other out. It's truly, it's the extreme segment of kayak fishing, but it's very, very much the heart and soul of the kayak fishing community.
You ever seen something so crazy?
I'm just not a tournament angler. We don't do a whole lot of tournaments where I am. I've been at a lot of tournaments. I've hosted a lot of tournaments. And I got to say, the guys at Extreme, Joe and Maria and their whole crew did such an excellent job to make this feel like not just a tournament. It was an event. It was just from top to bottom, first class, from the weigh-ins to the award ceremonies. Everything was handled top notch, and it was just a great time, done so well.
Yet another day of record-breaking fish. As the word goes out that time is up, nearly 100 kayakers rush into the weigh station in hopes of nabbing the $10,000 prize.
$10,000. That's huge.
When we come back, the winner is revealed and we get a chance to explore the island of Grand Bahamas.
Hey, Caesar, how are you, man? Thanks for joining us here today. I forgot you were at this. Caesar had joined me when I was guiding down in Baja and has turned into a traveling kayak angler. He goes all over the place.
Welcome back to Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show with Jim Sammons. So far, the guys have spent an amazing 2 days paddling and partying with kayakers from around the world at the annual Battle in the Bahamas Extreme Kayak Fishing Tournament. Now it's time for the results.
Ready to rock. We're about to do the award ceremony. We had an awesome variety of fish. We broke some records in our tournament series, and we're ready to rock, man. Let's do this.
Here we go. $500. Derek. Scully Beckman. Beckman. Finally, this year, Mr. Joe Kratz. Not only is he the winner, but he has the highest total weight total for the series in general.
Years ago, there was a guy that we called him the biggest Guggen, and I don't know if I'm sure everyone knows, everyone loves Raymond, and they've watched the show, and he is that guy. Just a funny Guggen, that's what we call him. And he kept getting better and better throughout the series, and he was working his butt off the last couple of years, and he finally won it. He finally won his big tournament, and he's happy. I'm happy for him, so it was a sight to see.
I come really close. I'd get second place, third place, but just always get beat by just small amounts. And then, finally I was just like, it needs to happen. Put in the work and it comes, it happens. Just, you need to get that bait. You need to weed through all those barracudas. And you need to have a lot of gogs and get through all those barracudas and you'll get something nice.
With that, a huge event comes to an amazing end, but our adventure isn't over. The guys have one more day to tour the Grand Bahamas and see all that it has to offer.
At least you could probably catch something.
One of the special things about this park is that you can see all of the ecosystems that you would find in the Bahamas in one place. Okay, so it's called a Transitional Zone as you go from the pine forest straight out to the beach. Okay. And there's also a lot of history here. This is one of two known Lucayan Indian sites on the island. So you have Lucayan National Park, and then you have Deadman's Reef. Here, there's still remains of the Lucayan Indians in one of the caves. So one of the little known facts about this park is that Never Say Never Again, James Bond movie that was filmed in 1983 with Sean Connery, the shark scene from that movie was done in Ben's Cave.
The slogan of my company is Dream Travel Fish. So to me, it's not only about fishing. Yes, it is sometimes only about fishing. That's the most important thing in the whole world. We all love it. But you have to meet the locals. You have to mingle. You have to eat the local foods and travel and really get to know the culture. So I wanted to implement that. I wanted to introduce Jim to conch salad. I know the Bahamas is big on conch salads. I had tried it 2 years ago, and I had this biggest craving today. So when we went on that tour with one of the members of the Board of Tourism, that was the first thing I asked him. And luckily enough, he knew the best guy in town to do that. And not only that, so we get to the kiosk, the guy's making it on the spot, and here comes the truck full of fresh conch. So we got to see how they crack the shell. We got to even eat, some part that I still don't know what it is of the conch, but it was kind of like a gummy worm. It was really nice. And I think that's the most important thing about traveling. You have to really learn about the culture.
The more younger they are, the more of that they have. The more slime they are.
Oh, okay.
So when we cut to take all that away. All that take it all off. You design it like that. Take everything off. This is called, maybe I can call it the skin hanging. I'm gonna show you what the skin hanging looks like. This is like the skin of the conch right here. This part with all the eyes and all that. You cut that right up underneath there. you peel it. Take your time, just peel it right around. Now, over the years, we never used to bother it, but our older parents taught us that you boil this, and you cut it up, and it's getting real tender, and it tastes real nice boiled.
Boiled, yeah.
Boiled, yeah. The same part here is more better for us. Instead of eating it like just like by itself, like a crack on fry, stay away from the grease. So we prefer to have it more boiled and more like the raw. Yeah.
That was delicious.
Yeah.
With that, we board the ferry back to the mainland and bid farewell to the Bahamas. Yet another year of adventure comes to a close with a bang. The battle in the Bahamas brought us closer to all the wonderful people who love this sport. In the end, proving it isn't always about the fish.
I wonder if my dollar's still sitting in there.
For a new hat, man. It's kind of feel it.
Oh, yeah, dude.
It's a whole different look for you, bro.
I think this is the new
Well, that's bringing back some great memories. Obviously, it was a long time ago, and we had a great time. Like I said, I don't think I caught anything on that trip. First time ever on a shoot, I got skunked, but we had a great time. It was a great group of people, and as I said, I mean, the Extreme Kayak Fishing Series, they still put on those tournaments. They just no longer do the Bahamas tournament, which is a shame. But they said it was just a lot of problems putting it on with just the logistics. I mean, how to get everybody over to an island to do it, but it was awesome. Esteban, how are you, man? Yeah, that was a super fun trip, and of course, we always have fun trips when we go with you, man. Caesar said he went back another 3 years in a row, and then the Bahama events came to an end. Los Busos was next, and you plan on going back to Los Busos with your daughter? It's a cool place. I mean, like I said, as far as a location that caters to kayak anglers, it's hard to beat Los Busos and the great people there for sure. So what happened? If you watched last Tuesday, we were in New Zealand. I flew directly from New Zealand to the Bahamas. So like I said, I was a little jet lagged. I got a little bit sick. But for some reason, now we were in New Zealand for over 2 weeks. So I was gone almost a month. I don't know why. Maybe it was because of contractual obligations to this place. We aired the New Zealand episode, one New Zealand episode in season 7. And then this Bahamas episode was the last episode of season 7. And then the second episode from New Zealand is episode 1 of season 8. So next week, we're back in New Zealand. We didn't fly back and forth, although I have been there a few times. Our next episode is our continuation of our trip to New Zealand, and it's a great one. That one, I do catch fish. I mean, it was just such a great place. I love New Zealand. So anyway, I do appreciate you all joining us. I want to remind you all to get your discount code there if you are interested in the flying pencil from a band of anglers, Ocean-born flying pencil. Also, we will be drawing for a winner of one of those lures to someone who does comment, share, all that fun stuff. So please comment, share, and of course, you can find all of the great products from A Band of Anglers at abandofanglers.com. And of course, thanks all of our great sponsors that are scrolling across the bottom there for always supporting us over the years. My next shoot, excuse me, is actually going to be in Florida, and I'll be shooting with Patrick Sebile in May. So looking forward to that. So thank you all. Please join us again here. I would say Thursday, but maybe Thursday because that seems to be the big wild card, whether I do a live show on Thursdays or not. But definitely next Tuesday, we will be back. And I'll say hi to Patrick one more time since he popped back up on the screen.
Yeah, there's a lake nearby, you know, so I can't resist. I went to take a few cars, but I saw small bass following I was actually casting this guy, the meanwhile.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
Can't resist that.
Is that the lake at your house, or are you at your house?
No, that's my friend's house. So it's a different lake. Lake of the Hills. That's a beautiful lake, literally in the middle of a hill. So it's quite deep. I think like 60 or 70 feet, which is super deep here in Florida, right?
Is it? I don't know. I don't freshwater fish very often. Bass.
Well, that's quite flat. So deep lake here.
Well, Patrick, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you again next Tuesday. Everybody else, if you are going out on the water, please remember, always wear your PFD and keep your paddle right side up. Y'all take care.
Take care.